So apparently 15 years ago, this was my personality. These are the books I loved and read 15 plus years ago. It's time to revisit memory lane and see if my taste has changed. Let's go ahead and jump in and see which book I will be reading for the week. Potentially I might read one or two depending on how my reading week goes, but I went ahead and just put all the books I have here as options to read because honestly I could not choose even if you asked me to. Let's leave it up to fate to see which is the book I will be rereading for the first time in 15 years. The Rescue. Okay. I haven't read this book since, high school. How old is this? Yeah, this came out in 2000. I read this probably around 2013, 2014-ish. Let's get started. I'm 11 pages in. I don't remember any of the beginning other than I remembered our female main character had a son named Kyle, and that was pretty much it. The prologue sets you up for our female main character's like background story, her origin story. She has no family left. They've all passed away and it's just her and her son, and to say the least, it has not been an easy life for her or her son. He's only 4 years old and he hasn't started talking yet. So far her story sounds really sad and I feel like I don't remember.
Approximately 10 hours later.
I'm still reading The Rescue by Nicholas Sparks, and the last thing I think I said was that I read chapter 1 but I didn't actually read the prologue, which is before chapter 1. And when I was reading chapter 1 I didn't really remember chapter 1 at all, but as I read the prologue, like, it's starting to come back to me. So it does start off with the storm like I remember, which is great to know that that wasn't just all in my head. But I will keep continuing to read this before I go to bed. I don't plan on reading too much more tonight, honestly. So it's the next day and I'm back with an update. I only got about 68 pages into The Rescue. Thoughts so far. I do remember how it made me feel back in high school. I was always so excited to find like a romance novel that I enjoyed that had a little bit of suspense, and this was like an immediate pull to me. There's a storm, the biggest storm of 1999, and so while I'm reading it, I've noticed a few things. His writing feels very juvenile in the sense that I've read more articulate romance books now. That's like my biggest takeaway. The difference is when I was younger, now it feels more like he's telling me what's going on in the story instead of showing me what's going on in the story. So I feel like I'm missing that aspect of feeling immersed, like I'm there. I'm gonna run a few errands today and I'll take you with me. Probably stop at a coffee shop after I run those errands and sit there for a while and continue reading. I finished The Rescue by Nicholas Sparks, and 15 years ago I would have rated this like a 5 stars, one of my absolute favorite books. As I finished the book, I went ahead and gave it a 2.75 stars. I think the ending had kind of only been purposeful for a shock appeal. The thing that I kind of didn't necessarily like, I honestly forgot. Like when I was reading this, I didn't remember that happening. And when it did and it came up and I was just like, wait, what? And then I was just mad, I love a good emotional book, but I don't like when we kill off characters for no reason. Overall, I did enjoy my reread because I got to live through these characters again, but with a different mentality than I did when I was a teenager. Obviously realized that my taste has probably evolved since this, but that's also to say that Nicholas Sparks's writing has evolved, because I believe this is like his third novel he ever released, and I could tell, because I've read a lot of other Nicholas Sparks books, and I definitely see that he's changed his writing style. It's become more mature and flows better. So that is actually something I did take away. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel one more time to go ahead and pick one more book to read on this vlog. Okay. Beautiful Creatures. Yay! Okay, I remember reading this my freshman year of high school, I believe, and absolutely falling in love with this world. It's funny how a book can stick to a core memory so much. This book truly was one of those books that saved me and helped me escape. And now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm really excited to read it. I am nervous. I just don't want it not to hit the way it hit when I was young Jocelyn, but let's go ahead and jump in and see how the book goes. This nostalgic experience is going to be one for the books, and I'm going to be so happy to be back in this world. Am I setting myself up for failure? For disappointments? We shall see. Oh, rededications, okay. Also, they referenced an iPod and gave me like a ton of breaks. Give me an iPod. Take me back. Oh my god, the waves of nostalgia that grasped onto you. I am so excited. Okay, I can already tell the writing style is still as good as it was back then. Honestly, I'm impressed. I'm impressed because I was fearful. I really was fearful of picking up this book and jumping into this world after 15 years and it not living to what I remember experiencing. Like, I might not remember everything that happens in this book, but I remember how it made me feel. And I think that's the point of reading books that I read 15 years ago, is if I feel the same way, the same intense enjoyment of reading the books that I did back then. I might not remember the plot, the characters, what happens at the end, but I remember how I felt, and I have that same excitement to continue to read it like I did back then. I am back with an update on Beautiful Creatures. I'm about 60% into this book, and what can I say? I'm still in love with this story. I think I have a newfound appreciation for the story. 15-year-old me loved the romance of Ethan and Lena's story. 30-year-old me is here for everything else, including the relationship, but everything else, this world, the side characters, the plot, the mystery, the history in it that you're getting on the Civil War that's kind of sprinkled in throughout the story, along with the magical system and kind of what we're trying to get to by the end of this book. So 60% in, I'm still in love with this book, but probably for a little bit of different reasons than I was when I was 15, 16, whenever I read this. hopefully when I come back, I finish the book and I can give you my final thoughts and my ratings, but I'm gonna predict this is still a 5-star read for me. If I rated books back then, I'm pretty sure this would have been 5 stars. As of right now, it's still sitting out of 5 stars because I've found new reasons to love this book and this series, but I'll be back to kind of close it out.
Aunt Marion? The library was freezing and completely empty as usual.
So I went ahead and finished Beautiful Creatures by Kami Garcia and Margaret Stohl today. This follows the love story of two characters, Lena and Ethan. Lena being a caster or a witch, and Ethan being a mortal, a human. And they're kind of fated, and I'm not going to tell you why or how, but the way their story plays out through the whole entire book is just beautiful. I love the tie of the past and how it has affected the present in their story. I think when I was younger, I really loved Lena and Ethan's story. That's why I continued the series. But as a full-fleshed adult,
take a look around. Do you see her anywhere? News flash. You're not gonna.
I found new things to love about the series that I feel like I didn't pay attention to when I was 15 years old. The plot itself, the mystery aspects, the history, the side characters that I feel just add so much depth to the world that is Beautiful Creatures. I feel everyone should read this. I still have those nostalgic feelings that I want to continue the series, but I think it's sitting more at a 4.5 than a 5-star, and that's just because it's got room to grow because I got 3 other books to go. Well, that is the end of this vlog. The overall experience of reading books I read 15 years ago, again for the first time, I would say was overall a success. I think on both ends of the scale, we had a book where I used to love it, and as an adult, I can appreciate my love for romance because that's where it stems, which was Nicholas Sparks' books. And when I read Beautiful Creatures, it's on the other spectrum where I was all like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be back in this world again and finding new things to love about it. I got to experience both sides of the spectrum, which is probably very likely for many readers who have been reading for a very long time and haven't picked up some of their favorite books from the past. I 10 out of 10 recommend that you do it and see what your experience is with the books that you love. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed this style of video. Let me know if you plan to read some of your books from 15 years ago, and if you are, which books are they?